Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. Has the word chronically just been automatically associated with chronic disease? Yes, we all think that way because it's been programmed right into us. But what if we flip that whole idea on its head and discover how we can create chronic health in our bodies, our minds, our finances, our relationships, and our lives? Welcome to the place where chronically meets healthy, wealthy, joyful, and ridiculously alive. Let's flip the script together. So today I am thrilled to be here with Jessica Hammock. She is a trauma recovery and transformation coach and a member of our collective. And you're going to love her as much as I do. She's brilliant, she's kind, and she knows her stuff. So Jessica, let's jump. Let me read just a little bit of your bio.
Sure.
She's also a podcast host, speaker, and author. She is the director of behavioral and mental health, serving 100 campuses and 25,000 students in a Texas charter school, and the founder of Vibrant Voice, coaching, consulting, and counseling. She is passionate about helping others find emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical health by rediscovering their true identity. So, Jessica, let's jump right in.
Yeah.
And what we would like to do today is get to know you.
Sure.
So let's talk about your journey, how you have gotten to be this amazing person.
Oh, wow. They say you teach the things you want to learn. I think where I'm at is teaching and walking alongside people to help collapse time around their learning and their healing journey. I went through many things, and I think it started really with growing up in an environment that I didn't really learn about till much later. And it wasn't so much that it was this, here's what I'll say is in our life stories, when I talk to people, we always compare our stories. Well, it wasn't as bad as this, or I didn't go through this, or I didn't experience this, so it wasn't this. And I just want to say to people, let's just make our story and stop dismissing or, excusing what we went through or didn't go through and categorizing it as a, bad, worsest kind of place, right? Our story is our story, and how we navigate through it is individual and unique to us. So we could all go through the exact same story and come through it differently. But I went through the story part for me was that the family of origin that I was in, I had really difficult time emotionally relating to them. Their personalities were just wired differently than mine, and how they gave love and affection was not how I received love and affection. And so for me, it stored much later, I realized, as sort of like this emotional neglect piece of me, which caused me to experience a lot of emotional wounding. And that really shaped me into not feeling good enough, not feeling like I was, that I fit in, that I belonged, that I mattered, all of those things. A really ugly headspace that I know a lot of people out there deal with, right? And so I found myself in relationships and friendships and really seeking to like just could somebody just approve of what I was doing or accept what I was doing from a good standpoint. And it was never that anything I did was necessarily bad or wrong. It's just I was looking to check the right box. And what I learned later in life is that nothing that I said or did would have checked the box the right way, because the relationships that I had from my family of origin and from my friends and things like that, we just weren't meshing right. You know how like when you plug into the electric socket the wrong way, it doesn't actually create the charge. And so there was some of that going through. There just wasn't, the charge wasn't flowing. So I did a lot of soul searching. I decided to become a teacher pretty early on because I had this whole plan. I tell everybody I had this magnificent plan. I was going to get married to a man that was probably in ministry or preacher or some sort of thing like that in a faith-based capacity. And I was going to stay home and be a mom and raise our 4 kids. We were always going to have an even number of children because I grew up with 2 siblings, and things don't really come in packages of 3s. So there's always one extra to split or fight over or whatever, you know? So I said I was going to have 4 kids. So there was no fighting about amounts. There was always even. Anyway.
Because that means there's never any fighting.
Right. Like I had this all figured out, you know, minimize the emotional damage. Anyhow, I'm pretty sure that God and the universe laughed at my plans. They're like, that's great. You think that's how that's going to happen. But I decided that I was told I was smart enough, so I had to go away to college. So I decided I was going to go be a teacher because if something ever happened to my spouse and I needed to provide for my family, I knew they would always need teachers. No matter what, they would always need teachers. And so I got to college. I did not meet the man of my dreams there, but I did become a teacher. I shouldn't say I did meet somebody, but I met them online. And I met them online because I was trying to prove this guy, the psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever he was, Neil Clark Warren, wrong, because he wrote this personality profile to match 2 people together. And I'm like, what does this guy know about me? Like, there's no way he actually has legitimate, you know, profile creator here. But turns out he might have known a few things about me. Turns out his little thing might have been a little bit accurate. But I just really got on because I was curious. I'm always curious. I was always asking questions. Growing up, my dad used to say, like, I think because he just didn't have the capacity emotionally to keep answering questions. He's like, are you writing a book? Leave this part out and make it a mystery. So I got smart about that. And I would get to the point where I'd be like, Dad, what about da 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 da? And by the way, this book is not a mystery. I need to know the answer to this story or the answer to this question. Like, I'm not writing a mystery. So I got smart enough to preface it. Anyways, just some of the nuances of me, but I was always very curious. So I met my spouse online. I moved to Texas. I didn't know anybody really, and we got married, and that's where like the gas kind of got hit on our life. And my husband had some medical things before we got married. He suffered a traumatic brain injury 3 years into our marriage and pretty much forgot our whole dating life, our connection, our wedding, everything. We'll celebrate 19 years next month. And but we've lived a lot of life. So walking through like the healing process, 3 years into your marriage, you don't anticipate being forgotten and not remembered for the connection that you have. And then coming out of that, he's a different version. He's not the same man that I married. That version of him has gone through a lot of iterations in the last 19 years. Into that, I didn't, he wasn't in the ministry anyways, but anyways, I said that. But very quickly, in the span of 1 year, I lost my job, our apartment, and emotionally lost my husband. So we went through some big traumas, like in all of that. It was the year that schools kind of stopped hiring teachers and shut down. And it was a big transition. We began the recovery process from all of those things. And that began our journey. My dream since I was little was just to be a mom. And Shortly after that, we started what was basically a 10-year journey with infertility. And we had multiple losses. So I did what any normal person does when they lose a baby. I decided to go back to grad school because like, why grieve? Why face the thing? Like, I'll just go to grad school.
Of course.
That's easier.
Yeah.
In grad school, God graciously really covered the fact that I maybe need to do some healing. Turns out I went to grad school for counseling and really learned about healing and began to work on healing a lot of things in my life and my heart, my mind, and my body. Healing my identity and really seeing like I had been through some pretty big traumas, and, trauma is not what we think it is a lot of times, and how I had navigated those things. And I didn't even realize that I was operating from some of those places in it. So it helped guide my work then as an educator, saying like, some of these kids have really difficult traumas. And this was all way before COVID and all of the impacts that we sustained as a society with that. But essentially it began me advocating in the school system I was in to be a counselor. And they didn't want to let me try it first. And then they let me try. And now I'm the head of a department with 7 therapists that I oversee. So it's come a really long way. We had several losses in our fertility journey, but we got our miracle girl. She'll be 4 next week. So we're super excited about that. Hope Elizabeth. And my husband and I are still working through things. And there's been a lot of things, physical things that have happened in my body just from all the stress and different things, and healings that I've had happen, and then new things that have come up because of the fertility journey. So I have really been intentional to really look at who we are as a spirit being, and how that connects to our soul, our mind, will, intellect, and emotions, and how that impacts our body, because all 3 of them communicate. And so I have done a lot of life's work, still have more to do as I walk this life out. But that's the story of who I am and why I'm on this journey to really help people recover and heal and move forward in this world and not be stuck. So, yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness, there is so much to unpack there. That no one, yeah. So what you said at the beginning, what you most need to learn. There's been quite a bit of trauma in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I've learned to say this little prayer now. I say it's a prayer, but I'm like, let me get this lesson the first time around. I do not want to repeat it. So if I find myself in the midst of something difficult, I'm like, please help me learn this lesson now so I don't have to keep repeating it.
Yes. Yes. That's a good one. That's a good mantra to have.
Yeah.
Because the loops, getting stuck in a loop like that is not healthy at all. Yeah. Well, so now you're not a teacher anymore. You're now a counselor with the charter school system.
I'm head of the department of counselors. So I oversee a team of therapists. We do provide counseling in schools, but I teach and train teachers. So we have about 6,000 staff across the state of Texas. So I train them on all things related to mental health and coping strategies, and how to recognize signs and symptoms of mental health challenges that our youth face today, and then serve as a bridge between those situations that we look at as a behavior threat, whether it's to the individual or to the campus, and really how to help navigate that, not just from a consequence standpoint, but also how do we help support the mental health impacts that an individual or the community face because of those incidents. And any crisis that arise, we have student loss and staff loss for a variety of reasons. And so supporting the impact that has on the individuals that our campuses. So my team does a whole lot: crisis response, training, and everything in between.
That's a big topic in our world today.
Yeah.
I've been a teacher for a long time, and I've dealt with many situations, including weapons on campus and then violent kids and non-supportive administration.
Yeah.
Where I live now, the admin's very supportive. It's a completely different experience.
Yeah.
So, but we have to, that's a big topic, because kids, it goes both ways,
Yeah.
protect the kids, but then sometimes what do we do when it goes the other way? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of factors to think about.
So many. Well, let's go a little deeper after we come back from this quick message. Stay tuned, everybody.
Have you encountered a situation or an event in your life that's caused you to feel stuck? You were on a journey to live your best life, but thoughts and feelings from the past keep showing up and has caused you to feel like you're not headed in the right direction or being the best version of you. Meet Jessica Hammock, trauma recovery and transformation coach. Not only will she teach you about emotional and mental health, she's here to help you unwind the treasure of who you are from the trauma of your past so that you can walk in the truth of your identity and break free from what is holding you back so you're able to nurture the best version of who you're meant to be. The time is now. Let's get started.
Everything we're made of contains light. From the sun that feeds our world to the energy that flows within us. With LifeWave X39, we've found a way to put that light to work. With X39, we achieved something remarkable in the field of wellness and science that others could not. By utilizing LifeWave's unique patented technology, X39 uses light to elevate GHK-Cu, a copper peptide known to support overall health and wellness. Unlike traditional light therapy, X39 uses the body's own infrared light to naturally increase vitality. By gently stimulating the skin with light, our non-invasive, non-transdermal X39 patches help you conquer your active lifestyle and pave a new way to vibrant health. Becoming a powerhouse is easier than you think. It all starts with your body and a little help from light. Place one LifeWave X39 patch on the body. Apply the patch to clean, dry skin in the morning. Patches may be worn for up to 12 hours before discarding. Keep well hydrated while using this product. Harness your natural potential. Reclaim youthful energy. Live long, live well, live young with LifeWave X39. Be the light. LifeWave.
Why do 98% of beauty enthusiasts rave about coolness? It's all in the blend of ancient wisdom and modern science. Introducing Coolness, Pearlescent Face and Eye Serum Cream. This powerhouse combines the antioxidative power of schisandra berries, the glow of pearl powder, and the hydrating wonders of dragon's blood extract. It's like a time machine for your skin, making it radiant, firm, and oh so smooth. Inspired by ancient Chinese traditions and backed by modern nutritional science, this serum cream is perfect for dry, mature, and aging skin. It's time to unlock your inner glow with Coolness. Treat your skin to the best of both worlds today.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. I'm Christy Boyd Johnson and I'm here with Jessica Hammock, trauma recovery coach. And she knows what she's talking about both through personal life experience and professional training. But Jessica, I'd like to go a little deeper into, because we've all, everyone's had, like you said at the beginning, even if something didn't seem to outside viewers to be traumatic, how the person received it may have been traumatic. So
Yes.
what are some things, like, as we work on ourselves, that we can do to kind of acknowledge what we've been through and not wallow in victimhood? This is something I'm trying to learn right now. Like, don't wallow in victimhood, heal it and move past.
Yeah. I think of it like this, so many people don't start out with having what we call a vision for their life. And if you find yourself resistant to the future, resistant to where it is that you want to go, like you hear a little story in your head, like you can't do that, or this is not going to work out, or we just don't do that, or, oh, well, I have this in the way. That could be the result of a story that you have heard or believed as a result of a trauma that you have been through. The second part of it is, I would say, if you find that your body is dealing with a lot of diseases and syndromes, or your nervous system is really dysregulated. And what I mean by that from a practical standpoint, you find yourself with feelings of panic, your heart's racing, you feel extra shaky and you don't know why. Or conversely, you feel super heavy and brain fog, and you feel like you can't make sense, or words don't come to you, or you just don't feel like getting out of bed, and you have depression, or you think you might have depression, some of those things. This is not to diminish any diagnosis, but what we do know to be true is that we get the opportunity to heal our nervous system. And what we know to be true about trauma is that it can impact both what we call the sort of two parts of a memory, the storyline side of the memory and the emotional experiential side of the memory. And people can tend to be stuck in two different tracks. One is the storyline, and those are the people that talk about their story over and over and over again. That when you're with them, you could probably tell the story for them. They've told it so many times. Their brain is stuck because it actually hasn't allowed themselves to feel the emotions and sensory experience in the body in a safe setting. The other people are the people that when you think about, they would talk about this from like generationally, they would talk about this maybe with war victims or individuals that have had trauma from going through war or violent things, is they have intense emotions, but they never talk about it. They have a lot of outbursts, or they're panic and anxiety. Maybe they experience things at night, like night terrors, or visions or things like that. They see things, the sounds set them off. They could be very jumpy. Those individuals have not actually talked about their story. And so part of what we know from trauma healing is that when you can tell your story in a relaxed, safe setting and let those emotions sort of express themselves, or you can acknowledge them, what happens in the brain is that it zips that memory component back together, files it away, so that your body doesn't continue to try to force it to heal, because you've allowed the story to come forth with the emotional experience, because one or the other got trapped. And so there's a variety of methods out there that can help you do this in a safe way. But part of this is acknowledging that there is something stuck and putting aside generational things about that our families have told us, that society has told us. This is not about being weak or immature or dismissing the intensity of what we went through. Like I said before, every experience is individual and unique to us. And so there is something that got stuck for us that we didn't have permission to do well. I'm working with several clients who are above 60, and they often dismiss their experiences because they say, well, I wasn't beat, I had a roof over my head, and I had food. And so I want to say, if you're in that generation over 60, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have trauma that you sustain. Trauma isn't a big thing. It is an injury in our nervous system, meaning our nervous system didn't go through something from a safe standpoint, or when it came through it, it didn't have time to come back to safety appropriately. So something gets stuck in there. I'm also working with a lot from that generation that said, children were to be seen and not heard. So their emotional experiences or experiences they went through, whether we would look at them and judge them as, bad or really bad, which we don't do, those things, because they couldn't talk about it, they couldn't process it, they couldn't have an emotional expression about it, has caused it to be stuck inside of them. And now they're experiencing physical health issues along with either emotional disconnect from their families, or it can be really harsh critically. and to their families who are having those intense emotional expressions, or like, this is just the way it is, or this is just the way I am. No, that is not true. Our bodies have the ability to heal themselves, and so do our hearts and minds when we are intentional to do the healing work. But we have to be willing to say, I'm committed to letting the future be better for me than the past has been.
Oh, wow. So, okay. So you're in a situation. So what do you do with that when, if you're trying to help someone who is just not wanting to, they block you, they don't want to hear it, they don't think there's anything wrong, it's all your fault, they're just coming at you like that. And I mean, it's different. Obviously, in the school situation, that's a different thing. But what if it's your family, or in a coworker situation or something, and it's disruptive? How do we, is there a way to help someone who doesn't want to be helped? Or do we approach it from healing from our own, keeping ourselves?
Yeah, there's a couple things. So here's what I'll say is there's this group of things out there. It's called the rules for being human. And there's 10 or 12, depending on which model you look at. And one of them that really has always impacted me is the statement, others are merely a mirror of you. What you love or hate about someone else is just a reflection of what you may love or hate about yourself. So when we find somebody that is activating to us, I don't really like the word triggering. When we find somebody that activates our nervous system or emotions or feelings inside of us, we get to pause and ask the question, like, why is this activating in me? Mm-hmm. Like, what is in me that actually is bothered by this person's actions or behaviors? Because when we operate from a healed perspective, we're able to pull back and recognize, like, they're in a lot of pain. They're in a lot of distress. What I tell kids a lot, because they're still learning this lesson, and I tell it to adults too, but they have the logical reasoning capacity differently than kids do. So it's a lesson I'm trying to help kids learn. When somebody says or does something to you, they come at you, they're really ugly towards you, they don't honor your boundaries, those kind of things, that's a reflection of something that's going on inside of them. It's holding a mirror up to the heart that they have, where the pain is coming from inside of them. And when we operate from a healed perspective, we can step back and say, oh man, that must be really suck for them to experience that much pain that they have to act this way. Mm-hmm. But we ourselves and our identity and who we are is not impacted. Now, we can feel a level of sadness for them because we recognize that pain is them not living their best life, but we're not absorbing the pain and being wounded from it. And so what I tell people, it's a difference between being pierced and being wounded. Part of what I teach people to recognize is this practice of when people have actions or words to us, it's like firing an arrow at our heart. And when we're in a trauma state or trauma recovery state and we're not operating from a level of healing, we allow that arrow to not just pierce us, but to stay stuck in us. And it's wounding us and it's continuing to bleed over and over and over again. And so we do some practices that I work about in my coaching where I have us take those arrows out so that we can experience healing. And when we begin to take those out and our heart begins to heal, they could still fire arrows at us again, but we might be pierced, but we have the skills and tools to take it out immediately and start applying healing practices so we don't live in woundedness and pain from their actions.
I love that. Yeah. I love that you just pull, like, the visual of that, pull it out, let it go. And I also really love something you said, which is taking a step back and realizing that, like, say a bully at school, they're in such pain. And if you can, I wonder how that would work if more of us, especially in the teaching administration side, said to them, I can see you're in so much pain.
Yeah.
And instead of you're a bully, yeah, you know, you're going to pay all
Yeah.
these consequences. I wonder what would happen, how that would
Right.
transform.
It's changing the questions from what's wrong with you to what happened to you. What happened to you that you're experiencing this level of pain? Now, I want to say to anyone who has experienced or is experiencing bullying or abuse of any kind in any way, that does not excuse that. It doesn't mean that there's not consequences for it. It doesn't mean that you should not be safe and get help. That is not what I'm saying. But I do think you asked the question from a victimization standpoint. So if we take the stance that we are physically, emotionally, mentally in a safe spot, right? Or we're getting help and getting to safety, how we move out of being stuck or not being continually wounded by people. You know, here's something really challenging that I'm going to say to people is so often people say, well, they made me feel this way. They made me feel this way. I'm going to tell you, anything that you experience past the first 90 seconds is your choice. If you're feeling an emotion past the first 90 seconds, something existed, that's your choice. And that's really difficult for people to swallow. I want you to think about that for a minute. 90 seconds past an initial thing. So if you're angry 20 years later and they keep talking to you and they keep making you more and more angry, they made me so angry. They made me feel this. Nobody is making you feel anything. That is actually a choice that you're choosing to continue to allow that emotion to be present in your system. And that is where you get the opportunity to say, now, the emotion is there as a signal to you that I need to adjust what I'm doing or heal. The anger emotion will rise up as a defense mechanism. The fear emotion will rise up. It's a way of us, it's a short-term activator for us to do something and to switch and heal. But feelings, when we're there and they're like, well, maybe they feel this way, I feel this way, I feel this way, I feel that. Well, that's something that you're choosing. And I know that can be really difficult for people to really think about, oh, I'm choosing anger. I'm choosing sadness. I'm choosing grief. There are ways to release those and to move forward with them. But that's how we get stuck in victimization, is because we're saying nobody can make you feel anything. You have an emotional reaction, which is the emotional reaction to the woundedness, to the piercing. And then what you decide to do with it is your choice. So if you continue to feel anger, if you continue to feel sadness or fear or anxiety or stress or worry, that's a choice that you're continuing in. And there's where the opportunity is for healing.
I love that. That is empowerment. That is actually totally empowerment. You have the choice to say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to choose to do this instead.
Yeah.
And, you know, I acknowledge that I had this, that I've been allowing this wound to continue, but now I'm choosing to heal it.
And that works for any age, you know. You can choose to be, there are some things that are initially very hurtful. That arrow is sharp, you know, but recognizing and telling little kids this, you know, especially elementary age kids, like, you know, you get a choice. You don't have to be wounded by what they're saying and doing. Like, what can we choose differently? Now, they need a lot more training on what choices they have, because that emotion is really big for them sometimes, and they may not have seen it modeled well. But all of us have choices in what we want to do. And those choices can keep us stuck. They can keep us repeating the patterns. They can keep us, you know, from going in the direction we want to. And there are so many people I find, especially in the elder millennial generation, some millennials and Gen X generation, that really are the people that are like, why am I facing so much difficulty? I'm like, well, you're kind of the one that says this stops here. I'm not letting it go any further, right? And that is kind of like what I explain. It's like a sieve. You have become the thing that it filters all the junk so it doesn't go past you. And that's gonna gunk up very quickly. So we've got to go in and clean that out so that that stuff continues to filter through, that what comes out of you is maybe not what was handed to you or was given to you, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to hold the responsibility for all of it for the rest of your life. You are the one that gets to transform and learn new tools and teach it to the generations around you and underneath you.
How wonderful is that, though?
Yeah.
I mean, because let's all just start thinking that way right now. Let's choose that. Let's choose. I'm gonna clear this gunk out and choose a different way. I'm not, it would transform the world like in a week.
I know, right? I know, Christy, if we would just have these conversations with the right people, we would have all the world's problems fixed.
Just like that. Let's do that. All right. Okay, everybody, we're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
When you look in the mirror, do you see skin that's just dry, tired, and stressed? It's time for a new ritual. Introducing Deep Love, the Blue Botanical Face Cream by Coolness. We've captured their tranquil essence of blue botanicals in a cloud-soft formula that deeply soothes irritation and restores your natural, healthy glow. This isn't just skincare, it's an act of self-care. It's deep love. Find your calm only at coolness.com. Scan the QR code now to visit our website.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. I'm Christy Boyd Johnson, and we are here with the fabulous Jessica Hammock, and we are talking strategies and tips on really digging deep and healing, not only healing trauma, but transforming from victimhood into empowerment here, which I think is fantastic. And I'm wondering, Jessica, back to more of your personal story. Have learning these kinds of things helped you on your journey? You've been through some pretty tough stuff.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I think, what I've learned about things, grieving things that we've gone through, recognizing one of my taglines that I used it for my audience is that I help unwind the treasure of who you are from the trauma you've been through so we can uncover the truth of your identity and walk that out. And I think that one of the biggest things that I have come through and embraced is this idea of what the treasure of me looks like and how individual and unique and faceted that is. And It doesn't mean that there's not moments that I don't compare, but I spend a lot less time beating myself up for not being where I want to be, or looking like somebody else, or acting like somebody else, or having what somebody else has, because I recognize there's an individual and unique set of things that I bring to the table. That is what makes this world beautiful. And when I can start to be present in a situation where I'm celebrating other people for their wins, their accomplishments, and what they have, I know that I'm walking in a place of healedness. When I find myself, because I'm still human on this journey too, being angry or frustrated that I'm not there yet, or being jealous, that somebody's doing something I really wanted to do, I, pull back to really look at why am I feeling that way? What is this a reflection of? Am I beating myself up because I didn't do something, and am I not paying attention to the times and seasons I'm in? Where am I missing the mark, or where am I operating off of a previously ingrained belief system that said I should do something a certain way, or by a certain time in life, or whatever? And really asking myself, especially when somebody says or does something that I notice the feeling change in me instantly, I begin to ask myself that question of like, what is this a reflection of me that I don't like? What is the reflection? Where is that coming from? Where did that enter in? And I'm not perfect at this, and I feel like God has been very faithful to bring me some really good friends who also have been really helpful mirrors to say, you're reflecting something here that's not great. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. Got to go make some adjustments.
We all have that.
But I think, that it's really important in this. People don't realize how much of themselves that they forsake along the way. In a trauma process, we don't realize when we're in those healing moments, in those parts of us that aren't healed, how much of us we're sacrificing. And one thing I really like individuals to do is think about the little things in life that you feel like you can't do or can't have. And what I mean by even little things, because this is where our identity has been stolen from us, in the little things. I had a client who, and she knows I tell this story, I still tell it with permission, but she's like, I wasn't allowed to use the amount of shampoo that I wanted to use. I was allowed 1.5 pumps. I was like, and so we were working on healing after some relationship stuff. And I'm like, girl, do you need more than 1.5 pumps? And she's like, well, sometimes I do. I'm like, then take more pumps of shampoo. And then after you take those pumps of shampoo, allow yourself to be present in that moment and give your body and your heart and your mind permission to celebrate it. So sometimes it's simple as how much shampoo are we using, or writing with a certain color pen because we like it, or choosing our favorite drink at the store because it's our favorite. Like allowing ourselves to experience those individual and unique things about us, because it speaks to the identity of who we are. But those little things are the things that we sacrifice when we're stuck in a trauma, because those aren't necessary for survival. And so if we find ourselves out of habit doing things because we had to do it this way, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've heard the story that's been passed down about this family. They would have ham every year for Easter, and they would buy the ham and they'd cut the end off the ham. And this girl was doing this, and her spouse, she was newly married. He's like, why are you cutting the end off the ham? And she's like, I don't know. This is just what my mom did. So when they got to Easter, she asked her mom, she's like, hey, like, what is the purpose? Like, why do we cut this much off the end of the ham? And she's like, I don't know. That's just what grandma did. So that's how she taught me. So that's how I did it. And then grandma comes over and they're talking to grandma, and they're like, grandma, why did you cut the ham off, the end off the ham? Like, what does that mean? Or like, how does that? She's like, because my pan wasn't big enough to fit it in.
Oh my God, that is. And then we carry this stuff with us that means nothing.
It means nothing.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story.
So it's a funny way to think of it, but like when we think of it, like what are the things we're doing in our life that we're just doing because this is the way we've been taught to do them? Like what significance do they have? Do they speak to you individually, or like why do you continue to choose to do them? Like what is the reason you continue to choose this behavior, this pattern of behaviors, this action, this feeling, this whatever? Because it is a choice. Like you don't have to cut, like she had plenty of room in her pants. She didn't need to cut it off by the time we got the granddaughter, but we just do it because how we've been taught to do it. And it's you know, it's healthy to ask questions. It's how we ask the questions. You know, we still get to have respect and honor when we ask questions. And I think some generations struggle with asking questions and losing respect and honor, but it's okay to ask questions and make decisions that are really choosing how the things that we like and enjoy and want to go forward with, you know. And so I would, you know, where have you sacrificed enjoying little things? If you have a difficult time identifying favorites in your life, like favorite colors, favorite foods, favorite restaurants, it could be because you experienced a lot of trauma early in childhood and you weren't allowed to have favorites. You weren't allowed to go to restaurants that you enjoyed, or you didn't have the funds to do that. So you've never sat down to take time to enjoy or find what it is that you enjoy. Or you are stuck in this people-pleasing state where you're always sacrificing your own ideas and needs and desires for somebody else's, so you avoid that disruption. It's really illustrated well in a great scene in the movie Runaway Bride. If you've never watched it, it's really old now, probably for some people. But for those of us who have life experience, Runaway Bride is not that old. But in the movie, Julia Roberts, every time she is out with a different guy, she always orders her eggs with what he's like. She's like, I'll have what he's having. I'll have what he's having. And when she gets to the very end, she actually has to take time to make every single kind of eggs, to really sit down and decide what is it that she actually likes, because she likes to taste the texture, the flavor, all the stuff, instead of just having what he's having. So how much of our life and the decisions that we make, little things going throughout the day, are cutting off the end of the ham or having what he's having so that we keep the peace. We perceive that we're keeping the peace, or we perceive that it's making things easier on us. Those are the decisions that sacrificed our identity, where we lose out on the treasure of us, and we get to participate in healing differently by saying, I'm going to choose to know what it is that I like and enjoy and experience more of that. That's what we can do in a healed place.
You know, I love this. How much of this goes to fear? I mean, trauma can create so much fear in us that, you know, we won't move to a new location even though we really want to, because we're afraid, or because someone in our family is afraid. And, you know, it becomes this dynamic thing, and it becomes, it's crushing. It's like, well, okay, I guess I have to give up what I really want so that, you know, they're happy and blah, blah.
Well, I start with this: if they're not paying your bills, they don't get a vote. So unless they are paying the bills for where you live, they don't get a vote. So stop giving them a vote. Like, everybody's gonna have opinions, but doesn't mean they get a deciding vote. And you know, fear is something that there is this healthy version of it to keep us alive and keep us safe, right? Run from the bear or get away from the bear to save your life. But our identity a lot of times is operating from a predictable place. And I heard this said the other day. I've been really anchoring in this when I work with my clients, is this idea that because our brain values predictability over success, it's always going to look at, are we trying to change the narrative of predictability? And our identity is what we've told our nervous system that we will do under pressure. So it's the predictability measure of, like, when pressure comes, I'm just going to say it's going to be okay. When pressure comes, That's what we fear. We fear the pressure is going to crush us. We fear the pressure is going to destroy us. We fear the pressure of doing something new, of telling a new story, of things like that will destroy us, that we will die in the process. And I kind of think of that. I don't know what movie it's from, but it's a meme. It's a graphic now. It's kind of like we do something, and the guy is there, and he's like, "But did you die?" And they're like, "But no, I fell." He's like, "But did you die?" Because ultimately, that's what fear is saying, that everything we are going to die from. We're like, everything is going to kill us. Well, newsflash, we are all actually going to die someday. There is no evidence that anybody lives forever. But most things are just what I call false evidence appearing real.
Right.
There is some story that says that this is going to happen to us, and it's not based on truth. And so I always challenge people, okay, well, what evidence do you have to support that that's actually true? And I make them sit down and look at, what are they fearing? Where is that evidence coming from? And then thinking about, why am I choosing to give that person or that situation that power? Why do they get the voting power? If they're afraid that this is going to happen when I move there, what evidence do I have to support that? Because it happened to them when they moved? No, they've never moved, right? So I'm saying I have to stay stuck here because they're worried they watched a TV show or news or this or that. So there's no evidence to support that that's going to be true for me. So why am I giving them a vote? Well, I'm afraid of what. So you're afraid of the pressure that this relationship is going to sever, or this is going to happen to you. And there's no evidence to support that to be true either. But that's a reflection of what's going on inside of them, not a reflection of who you are. So you get to decide what you want to choose.
That's that what you said about, is there really a tiger chasing you? That made me laugh, because I'm like, okay, if there's a tiger chasing you, be afraid. But if there's no tiger chasing you, then take a step back and go, is this actually true?
Our brain is amazing at running 1,000 scenarios of how we're going to die because of this one thing. And there's no evidence to support any of those. So stop giving it all the power and really look at, in history, in my story specifically, what evidence do I have to support this to be true? And most often what we actually have is the evidence to support the converse of that to be true. And so it's, look at all the times you did a type of thing and you didn't die and you survived, and how amazing it was. And
that almost, to me, that ties together to what you said at the beginning, where you're locked in either the story or the emotional reaction, and you've got to find the way through that, because sometimes it's just a story. That, oh, my father failed at every time he tried to start a business, so therefore I'm going to fail every time I try to start a business, or whatever. I'm just making that up. But
well, a lot of times what you see it come out as is, everybody in my family had a heart attack at 57. So all of a sudden they're afraid of 57. Well, that could be a generational trauma in your timeline. So there's all kinds of trauma. There's trauma to money. There's trauma to relationships, trauma to time, trauma to land. And it is an opportunity to heal all of those traumas. And there's modalities and systems and processes to work through from all of those. But don't let that trauma from everybody else's story be your decision factor for you. You get a choice.
You get a choice. You get to choose to be empowered. I love that. Oh, I could talk to you. Every time I talk to you, I just get fascinated. You're just amazing.
You.
Well, how can people find you out in the world, Jessica?
Yeah, you can find me on my website, vibrantvoice.life. I'm most active on Facebook and Instagram, Vibrant Voice by Jessica, or Jessica Vibrant Hammock. That's a part of my story, that vibrant piece of things. Or you can always email vibrantvoice20@gmail.com.
I believe the QR code on the screen also goes to your website. So that's the easy way. Thank you so much for coming on today. And I feel like we got to know you a little better. And, keep on keeping on, because you're an amazing person to have on this planet.
I love you. Thank you so much.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap. So join us every Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time at e360tv.com on the Vitality TV network or on YouTube at Chronically Healthy Life. Swing by chronicallyhealthylife.com this week for your free 30-minute consultation with Andy and our brand new healing skincare line at coolness.com. Until then, stay vibrant, stay fierce, and stay ridiculously, unapologetically, chronically healthy. See you next week.